Alright everyone, Bill Cosby is now a free man. His conviction was actually overturned by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court the other day, so he's out now, and they can't retry him on the various rape charges that he was up on. I agree with this, although there are technicalities upon technicalities in this, not the actual overturning of the conviction, but really with regards to the case in the first place. And I think I've already explained it in part, but I'll explain that again because it's definitely pertinent. To be clear, he should be free, but I'll get more into my thoughts about Cosby himself as well. Now, first and foremost, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment down below. You can check out those 4 links that'll be there to other video hosting sites that I use. Keep in mind I make 2, sometimes 3, like today, videos on YouTube, but I also make 2 videos every day just on those sites. Could be that the topic's verboten. Usually it's more because of algorithms, because YouTube punishes you if you make more than 2 videos in a 24-hour period, I've noticed. So that's just sort of my operative strategy. Now, firstly, let's talk about Cosby's guilt or innocence. When that many people come forward and allege basically the same thing, it would generally point to the likelihood of that person being guilty, but here's my problem. The more, especially with regards to someone who's well off, like Cosby, massively wealthy person, one of the top comedians of like the 80s and 90s, you got the Cosby Show, you've got fucking merch, you've got his stand-up, really rich guy, really powerful and famous. While you can therefore say, well, he probably roofied some of these people, the purpose of the justice system is to look at each individual claim separately and determine whether there's any validity. There was never any forensic evidence for Cosby having done anything. I personally do not believe that a person should be able to be imprisoned or punished in any way, civil or criminal, based solely on claims. It does not matter the preponderance of the number of claims that there are. There are also women who said Cosby never did anything to them. It shouldn't matter. You shouldn't simply be able to say, well, so-and-so roofied me, and then a couple other people say the same, so they assume guilt. Because there's no further evidence of any wrongdoing. There's no evidence of manufacturing roofies, there's no evidence of rape, sexual assault, attempted sexual assault. There's just claims by various people that Cosby happened to work with. The problem is that sometimes you can get a situation where it looks like the person's going to roll over and other people sent a payday. They figure that they're going to go civil, because they figure if the person gets convicted, then their civil suits certainly can go forward. Now, as to his overturning of conviction, while I personally believe, based on the number of claims, that at least some of them are true, and Bill Cosby probably did drug and rape numerous people, there's no proper evidence for that claim, and so I support this. But here's the thing. This isn't due to a lack of evidence. They're throwing out his conviction on the basis that he already struck a deal with an initial prosecutor who determined that there wasn't enough evidence to go forward anyway in order to not be charged on these various claims in exchange for giving testimony. So double jeopardy applies, the Fifth Amendment applies, and they shouldn't have put him in jail in the first place. In fact, looking at the case as it is, cut and dry as it is, he never should have been in jail for a single day. He shouldn't have been there to be, he might even be able to sue. He might be able to gain restitution for the time that he spent in prison in the state of Pennsylvania. That's not hyperbole. Keeping in mind, of course, at the same time, he's an 83-year-old man and doddering around and shit like that. Like he's older than Joe Biden, so he's not, he's not doing the Weinstein thing when who pretends to be crippled all of a sudden for sympathy. Now, Bill Cosby's genuinely fucking elderly and not quite apparently with it anymore. I approve of the conviction overturning, because he never should have been charged apparently from the get-go, but even if he hadn't taken that deal, he never should have served a day. There was never any actual proper evidence that Bill Cosby did jack shit to anybody. A person should never serve a day in prison based just on the claims of other people about them, especially in the case where the person is well off enough so that people might be trying to get a civil payday, because they say, well, he gets thrown in jail for rape, I was one of the claimants, I can sue the estate when he dies. I can sue his family and sue his holdings while he's still alive, potentially. I can get money out of him. They're going to settle. Because they're like, well, there's still all this Bill Cosby stuff around here. He's still generating millions of dollars a year even from a prison cell. because of all the merchandising deals that now other people get to benefit from, by the way. So we'll just pay him off, and we'll still be deep in the black for the next 100 years. He's still Bill Cosby. Just because Bill Cosby goes to prison doesn't mean the Bill Cosby show doesn't run reruns. It doesn't mean that his stand-up isn't licensed and then put online. It's all still there. We're still making money. People are still selling, Bill Cosby mugs for 1,000, vintage Bill Cosby mug for $100 on eBay or something. Well, we want a cut. They'll just release a merch line or something. They'd be making 5 figures a year at the very least. They'd be making some money. So they're happy. Bill Cosby, meanwhile, is on his last leg. He's 83 years old, and he's kind of not kicking it quite so much. He's not doing stand-up comedy. Now he has to do sit-down in a wheelchair comedy, I guess. But it's not a technicality. That's the other thing. When I'm looking at other people analyzing this, especially the legacy media, like, whoa, it's thrown out on a technicality. Oh, and then there are people saying, well, this is terrible. This is evidence of the male-dominated, penis-centric sort of legal system and shit like that. It's like, no, it's called a constitutional amendment. You can't be tried twice for the same crime, and he already had struck a deal. I would have thrown it out, though. If I had been on the court, I would have argued that he never should have been in jail in the first place just based on the lack of evidence. Doesn't matter if it's self-evident the person's guilty. Dude, that's the same exact kind of logic. And the idea of the preponderance of the number of people claiming you did something being of relevance, this is from the witch trials. That's the way that the justice system worked before the Enlightenment. To be clear, that's back in the old days. It said, well, 5 people say that they saw you dancing naked in the moonlight with Satan. Well, but fucking prove it. Prove that I was there with Satan. Is there any further evidence? Are there like hoof marks all around, and am I giving birth to demons or something? No, but several people saw it. So bye, you're being hanged today. We're gonna pillory you. We'll do some swimming the witch, but we'll let you drown accidentally. This is witch trial stuff. This is Burning Times bullshit. I'm editing a work right now about the Burning Times and some of the witch trials that went on and the bizarre sort of legal side to it, the bizarre claims. The lack of evidence that was considered, though, at the time to be quite rigorous. It's the same thing here. Hashtag #MeToo morphed into a literal witch hunt. Only it was targeting primarily men instead of primarily targeting old women with palsy or people who happen to dispense abortifacients like back in the 1600s. It's just, fucking different time, same basic methodology. It's completely, it should be considered extra legal. We should probably have a constitutional amendment tacked on to the 5th to revise that guarantees that people won't be prosecuted if there's no evidence beyond claim. Because it's bullshit. People all the time, they're getting sent to prison because somebody claims they did something without any further corroboration, simply because the person, they didn't have enough of an alibi, so the claim just stands. With Bill Cosby, I realize that it's dozens of people, but that shouldn't matter. It really should not matter because there's a profit motive involved, and the state's not going to be able to determine, absent any other evidence, which of the claims are actually valid. So it could be person A is telling the truth, but persons B and C aren't. Or maybe C is telling the truth. Maybe person F is half true. Maybe, she didn't get roofied, but he did feel her up or something, and it made her feel uncomfortable. Maybe person A is flat out lying, and person B is telling the truth. But if you can't actually determine for any given claim the veracity of the claim, how is it even evidence? So that's my thoughts on it. He never should have been in prison in the first place. Would I let him, babysit my daughter or something? No. But he shouldn't have been in prison. That's my feeling. That's about all. Peace out.